Most change doesn't begin with a plan, but with discomfort. It starts in that moment you realize something's wrong and you can't ignore it anymore. I'm Saskia Falcon. Welcome to the Odds in Our Favour, a News 24 Good News podcast, brought to you by Old Mutual Wealth, helping you grow, protect and preserve what matters. This is where we ask, what happens when ordinary South Africans stop waiting for systems to work and start fixing what's broken themselves? What does it really take to break the cycle of gender-based violence? To challenge generations of ideas about what it means to be a man? For many boys, those lessons start early. Strength means dominance, silence means loyalty, and emotion means weakness. And those lessons don't just shape men, they shape entire communities. But what happens when young men decide that those lessons are not serving them anymore, when they refuse to inherit a cycle that harms women and girls and ultimately themselves? Today, I'm joined by Luyolo Langisi and Sibusiso Diko of Langa for Men, a movement working with young men to rethink masculinity, hold each other accountable, and prove that real social change often begins in the most unexpected place, and that's with a conversation between men. Before this movement began, before the workshops, before the programs creating safe spaces for men, I want you to take us back to the beginning. And maybe we should start with you, Mr. Lengs. Langa for Men started in 2019. You were only 21 years old. What made you decide to get involved and do something about gender-based violence?
My name is Luyolo Langisi. I'm well known as Mr. Lengs. I'm an artist, activist, feminist, and a spiritualist. I was born, bred, and battered in Langa. Originally, my family is from the Eastern Cape, Engcobo. Back in 2019, we saw the stats of gender-based violence. They were not going down. Instead, they were going up. And I met Sia, who we used to go to the same high school. And then Sia, knowing me, that I'm an artist and I've been writing productions around the challenges of our community and putting them on stage, creating conversations. He was interested in us sitting down and unifying boys of our community. Langa is divided into two, though people might not be able to understand it. There are those that regard themselves as Cape Bonners and those that came to look for green patches. And now, I wanted us to unify boys because that is where gangsterism starts. But apart from that, us experiencing gender-based violence and seeing it, we sat down and decided to create a one-day campaign where we said, let's invite young boys and men and go around Langa to create an awareness of gender-based violence. That is how the organization came about. It was not meant to be an organization, but a one-day campaign, hence we call it #Langa for Men. We wanted everyone, when they are tweeting, when people are Facebooking, Instagram, when they say hashtag, they can be able to reach the Langa for Men campaign.
So that was the very first thing that you guys decided to do. It was actually just a one-day campaign and you were going to pull everybody together. How did that go off, that first campaign?
We were surprised because we were joined by young girls and women who said, we also want to join you. You can't just do an awareness without us. We also feel the pain of gender-based violence in the community. The turn-up was good. We were joined by young people, young boys, because we believe that young boys must also be part of the change that we are doing. Before I became a man, I'm a young boy, and I'll always be a boy at home. So we were joined by boys, and one old man invited people to also help us with the campaign. And we appreciate that old man who came because he was like, I was involved in the struggle back in the 80s, and seeing something like this being created by young people, it motivated me. I know that I no longer have power like you do. When I was in the 80s, I had that power of being an activist. So all I can do is to support you and refer people to you so that they can be able to assist you. That is why it became an organization.
Tell me a little bit more about the decision to go from one day to an organization, because it's quite a responsibility. You're a young man, 21 years old, your whole life ahead of you. I'm sure you had dreams and aspirations, but instead you've really committed yourself to this work. Tell us a little bit about the decision to go from a campaign to an organization and that responsibility, taking that on as a young man in your community.
With the positive response that we got before we even made that big awareness, when we were doing preparations, this old man introduced us to different activists and different unions. So many unions were interested in that campaign, and shortly while we were still planning, there was a story of Uinene Ukhotyana. So most people were questioning the involvement of men, why men were not doing change. So it was not an easy thing, but because of the people and the unions that motivated us and said, we're going to join you, and we don't want this to be a one-day thing, because men need sober spaces. Young boys need to be taught about gender-based violence and about all the issues that are affecting them into the society. So that is where we got the fuel and where we got the power. While we were still thinking, if this is going to be an organization, who is going to take us into the journey? They offered to be our mentors, and they mentored us up until we were able to stand on our feet.
I want to bring Sibusiso in here. Sibusiso, you're a facilitator with Langa for Men. You joined them about 3 years ago. Tell us a little bit about why you first decided that you wanted to get involved with the work that Langa for Men was doing.
You know, seeing a great work from the community, because we are coming from a disadvantaged community, you know, a community that is not recognized as one of the best communities in Cape Town or like in the Western Cape province. So seeing young men doing such a great work in the community is what motivated me, and also my background is what pushed me to be part of #Langa for Men, you know. So when I started joining them, or before I joined them, let me say before I joined them, I saw how men were busy picketing for gender-based violence in the community of Langa. And not only there, and also the programs that they were doing that were helping a lot of people, you know, because at the time I was staying with my uncle, someone who's always drunk, you know, every day. So like it was not quite easy. But then I told myself, like, no, let me be part of the team that is doing such a great work in the community, because it's rare to find young men and boys being involved in such initiatives. So let me join them.
And tell us a little bit about what it is that you do as a mentee and a facilitator.
Firstly, let me say a mentee at #Langa for Men, or I as a mentee who is committed into bringing change into the communities that we are coming from. You know, it's more like giving back to the community. So what I can say is that I have been dreaming of becoming into the future, you know, being a motivator, being a role model into the young people that are still growing up. So, yeah.
Some people would say you're a young person yourself. Where do you think this came from?
You know, if you are coming from a community like Langa, you know, definitely you will be more interested in bringing change, especially because of how you grew up and where you are at the time. So it's what always pushes you as a person, you know, being involved in everything that has to do with community development.
I want to come to you again, Mr. Langs. The Langa for Men website says something really, really powerful. It says we are all affected by gender-based violence. That statement really shifts the conversation, because often gender-based violence is framed as a woman's issue. And from your perspective, why is this so important for men to also understand that it's their issue too? Or do you think it's more about helping to create that space for men? Because like Sibu was saying, the men want to be involved, but how do they get involved?
We're all affected by gender-based violence, and why we wrote that we've been doing productions, we've been doing poems in making sure that men, they're able to express themselves. When you are dealing with men, you must understand that at times they get intimidated by a classroom structure and with the conversation of gender-based violence, because some of them, they've been affected direct and others indirect, and others might also be perpetrators of gender-based violence without them knowing, because gender-based violence has been normalized in our communities. And by saying we are all affected, we wanted men also to come closer, and because of the experiences that we got out of those poems that men have written. So we wanted the spaces for boys and men to be able not to, when they are coming to the space, we are investigating them, and
right.
Yes, but we wanted them to be free in the space that they can understand how big and how problematic that gender-based violence is. Because there's patriarchy, which is one of the contributors of gender-based violence. There's alcohol, which is one of the contributors of gender-based violence. And it is there in our customs and traditions, of which that is a misinterpretation. And most men, they would rather protect the traditions that have alcohol, which is the misinterpretation. So bringing these conversations, we wanted them to also be able to find solutions. When you go to them, why did you beat your person, your partner? It was because of alcohol, and it was because of ABCD. There's justification. So they are affected. They need to come to the table and bring solutions. Hence, we said we are also part of the change, and all men are welcomed at #Langa for Men. It is not a women's problem. It is everyone's problem. And some of the people that have been abused, why did you tend to be an abuser? I was abused myself. So you see, these are men who have been abused themselves. So it is not an issue of women alone. It is everyone's issue, in fact.
Yeah, and we all need healing, because brokenness creates brokenness. And I suppose it's the next question I also want to ask you guys, and maybe Sibu can answer this one, because you also speak about creating a safe space for every gender. Just tell us a little bit more about that. Why is that so important for you guys also to mention that specifically and so explicitly?
That's quite a tricky question, but the reason why it's very important, as my colleague just did justify everything as it is. I will always refer to the community that I'm coming from, because it's not easy coming from such a township, because everything as a young man, you have to do it by yourself, and also we are always not able to speak out or to voice out as young men. It's very difficult. Hence why usually, if you can ask a young man, can you go to the clinic? They will say no. Why? Because there's a lady that's going to take care of me. And, I can't say anything to a lady, So all this mentality always comes from the patriarchy belief, So now if we have to go back to the topic, itself, every gender, and how we have to make sure that these young men and boys do speak out in these places. For example, we had a bonfire dialogue this last Saturday. So it's where they are able to speak out, because it's only men and boys, So if I, as someone who's able to speak out, I just start with the conversation. It's easy to open his heart to voice out too, because it's difficult even to show our emotions, because a man has to be strong. A man cannot cry, all those kind of stigmas that we believe in. A man doesn't cry, but a man does cry, because we have to cry. But even though it won't be easy, but at the end of the day, we do.
Sibu, I'm so glad you brought up the bonfire, because I want you to tell us a little bit more about it. And I really love this image of men sitting around a fire and talking honestly and sharing. Can you describe a little bit about what happens in those moments? And obviously these are private conversations. I don't want you to share what happens there, but just what kinds of conversations are you having? And if you can just describe the emotion when people have this opportunity, when young men and boys have this opportunity to have the space to share.
So I find it like as a space that has two emotions on it. It's a sad space, but also a safe space for everyone. In the bonfire, we just create conversations that at the end of the day will help us. But now we do also have to reflect on us, because it's more like reflecting on yourself and like, what do you really want in future, and all the problems that you are going through at the moment, and the challenges, the obstacles that you have to deal with every day, employment. That's where we bring those kind of topics, how you feel today. I'm just okay, that's a man. I'm fine, now you are trying to avoid like sharing your emotions or how you really feel, but there's something deep inside that you are holding into yourself. So in the bonfire, we have fire and like snacks and stuff, but it's not about the food. It's about what we are here for, because we are there to share the emotions that are difficult for us to share. Because us guys, it's difficult even to share from like to your partner, even to your mother, even to your father. It's difficult for you to speak out to your parents. It's not easy. It's something that we are fighting, but in the safer spaces where we have to sit as young men and boys. Yeah. Maybe Mr. Lengs can also, add.
Bonfire is a sacred ceremony for us. We advocate for all genders. And next time, I believe we're going to be joined by different genders as well. It is essentially that they also join the bonfire dialogues so that they can open up. I thought that on Saturday they were going to join. I invited a lot, but they did not pitch up. Only one lady pitched up and she was like, nah. And men were like, we want to share. But the idea it is for us to talk about mental health issues that are affecting boys and men. The stats of suicide. Men are hurting themselves because they do not find spaces where they can voice out. Men that are affected by personal problems when the society expects them to be strong. So we are there to dismantle the man box in those kind of gatherings where we share and talk, and more especially about activists. Everyone expects us to be the soldiers while we are dying and drowning inside. So that bonfire is that kind of a platform that gives us more power around a communal meal. It is all about healing our broken wounds and the wounds that are bleeding as men and young boys.
Wealth is about more than just numbers. It's about what you're shaping, your ambitions, your priorities, your legacy. That's why Old Mutual Wealth partners with skilled financial planners to bring the expertise of a leading wealth manager to your strategy. They help you make sense of both local and global opportunities, offering clear strategic insight so you can make confident decisions, whether you're building your wealth, protecting it, or shaping your financial future. Take your wealth further.
Changing behavior is probably one of the hardest things that anyone, any organization, any individual can try to do. So this work that you guys are doing must come with some resistance, because you're challenging ideas that have existed for generations. How hard is it?
Coming from a black township, rooted in Christianity and also traditions and the misconception of culture, a community that has been broken by colonization, a society that has been broken by the apartheid system, where people lost identity, where there's too much high fatherlessness and use of substance abuse to escape problems. And that has been taken and happening for a long time. It is not an easy thing. We both ourselves coming from those broken families because of the broken systems. and how we were raised. Some of us, we were raised by the streets because of what was happening at home. It is not easy. Some, they still have their families, but again, they are raised in toxic families, and they come to #Langa for Men, and they get confused because when we teach them about equity and equality, they go back late to those same spaces where they do not have voices. So it creates a lot of confusions in their minds. So we are challenging that, which is not easy. We are challenging things that have been perpetuated by religions and traditions, even structural and societal norms. So it is not easy. We are surviving. We are coming up with a lot of ideas that can help men to be able to cry, which is not easy. That in their culture, they've been told that you have to express or live in a certain way. There's man box. This is how the society view men, and this is what the society wants men to be. So breaking that, it takes a lot of courage and strength by creating these kind of dialogues where we invite different religious leaders and involve them in the conversation of gender-based violence. It is not only a structure that is coming from one perspective, but we involve each and every person from different corners of Langa and other different townships, because we are not only based in KwaLanga. We go to Paarl, we go to the Eastern Cape, we've been to Johannesburg, we've been to Durban. So again, it is not only about Ulanga, but also about people that understand that gender-based violence is wrong and it is the problem.
I know that you've seen great impact in your community. I've seen the work that you're doing with your local SAPs. I want you to share some of the things that you're most proud of, Mr. Lengs, over the last 6 years.
It has been a journey. I am proud to say that we were able to form part of Langa Gender-Based Violence and Femicide Forum. Langa never had such. We were able to get stats quarterly in KwaLanga so that you can be able to look at the work that you are doing and evaluate if it is working and if it is not working, at where we need to put more power and more resources. Before, it was not easy. Even police, they were taking power and treat people in ways that people felt worthless. Men were not able to report cases, and that it has affected them. But today we are proud to say that when men are not assisted in the police station, we're able to sit down with station commander, visible commander, and look at those cases that people are complaining about. And we've been pushing that in the police station, they should not only do programs when damage has already been done, but we are creating programs that are bringing police in the community to be more involved in prevention than when the cases have already occurred.
With all of the challenging work, surely there are also partners, partnerships, sponsors. Who have been some of your biggest champions?
I would like to appreciate Too Much Wi-Fi. They're the first people who came to us when we started the initiative and said that for your message to be out there, we're going to give you the connection. That is why we're able to share the work that you are doing. We're able to answer emails. We're able to capture and post the great work that we are doing so that even men that are in Philippi can be able to understand. We've been assisted by the Kolisi Foundation since 2020. They supported our initiative and made sure that we are assisted by also other organizations, Adidas, so that our men can be beautiful and also share the resources with other organizations. We've never been supported by government. So for us, small things that we are getting, we share them. We share them with our community because we believe that we are not the only people that can fight gender-based violence. We need each other. This is not business, but these are people's lives. And a newly one that are supporting us, Octotel and Cell C. These are some of our sponsors that are supporting us. And South Sun, they've been supporting our community kitchen in Joslovo as well. Dan Anchor, these are the people that have been supporting us. And other people who have thrown their money, individuals. We don't get a stream of money from certain company, but we get from people who believes in the good work that we are doing. And we've been appreciative to also sponsors who do not want to be named as well.
That makes me feel really, really good, because then behind you are a whole lot of other committed South Africans who are kind of supporting you and the work that you do. How has the work changed over the last 6 years? Because I see mental health has become a really big focus for you. And I also see that you're doing some work with UCT as well.
I'm going to share just a few, then Spusiso can also add. Mental health is a problem. We are also drowning. I have depression. I had my own problems and I'm still battling with that. It is not an easy thing. I hardly go out. I stay at home and go out to events that are healing. And I've been doing this for so many years. I attend camps, spiritual camps, where I put my phone, my laptops away for weeks and make sure that I connect with the land. And I'm far away from the Facebook, Instagram, and all of that to heal myself as well. Sometimes we are triggered, even in the spaces that we work with. And some of these beautiful and activists that are challenging change at #Langa4Men, most of them are drowning in depression and anxiety because of the work that we are doing and because of the criticism that we are getting. Not only we are getting positive ones, we also have the negative ones. And sometimes you tend to ask yourself or doubt, is this worth it, to continue and serve the community? Because at the end of the day, we are changing the community while we are losing a lot. The UCT partnership with us, Busiso will elaborate on that one. We had to go around the community and gather stories that are affecting men and why men are drowning in anxiety, depression, and why men are committing suicide. What are the factors that are contributing to that? And how can we as well be assisted by University of Cape Town and other stakeholders that are fighting mental health and say that it is okay not to be okay as a young person?
I said it before. The fact that the man does not cry, the stigma that really lies in between, like in our veins, because it's something that we live with, we feel it, that a man does not cry. So the reason why we, like the whole partnership thing with the UCT, it has been helpful a lot because that's where most young men were present. Because you can't have these initiatives without the problem. You can't have such initiatives without the people that are the problem. The fact that a man does not cry, and for us being difficult to speak out and voice out when it's necessary, we are dying inside. We are dying and it's difficult to fight it. So it's the problem that we have to figure out, and the problem is still us. Because if you cannot speak out and you still need help, but it's difficult for you to speak out, so there's no solution. And we are also the solution to the problem, because the solution is going to come from us, So we were also sitting it was more like a bonfire, but there was no fire. So it's always the circle, because now if we are facing each other, it's easy for us to speak. So the partnership did help us a lot. And, having to deal with depression, anxiety, and a guy cannot hold pets, it's the stigma. I can't go to the shop and buy pets for my girlfriend, And now I'm really seeing change, I'm really seeing change. And I'm proud to say I am proud to be part of the change, because once you start seeing change, if you are able to change one person, that person can go and change another person, So, yeah.
Sibu and Mr. Lengs, I mean, it strikes me that you're both young, particularly when you started on this work. I mean, what prepares you for this? How do you guys cope?
We cope because there are people that loves us. We cope because there are people who are praying for us. We cope that some of this partnership, they've went too far and too deep, to an extent that some of the people that have been assisting us, they go as far as working with us on their personal level. We have one lady, she loves us so much and she invests a lot. So those kind of people that are motivating us are able to say that when you want to cry, you must cry. And when you need help, you must come to us. It is not easy. And not all of us, we have families. I am grateful that I still have families, though I don't have my mother and father, but I have family members that are supportive to me. And whenever I'm going through a lot, I know that they are there for me. And the members of Langa for Men are there for me. We are a family as well. And when I feel that I'm losing it, I go and connect with nature, which is one of the strategies that we are using at Langa for Men, where we take young boys and link them with nature so that they can be vulnerable and be able to connect with their emotions. So yeah, nature remembers and nature loves us.
On my side, I will just add from where he left. The case is always about the people, and then we forget about us. But we are currently doing the work, and the work does bring us a lot. We usually go out in the mountains, like Table Mountain, and for hiking. So we go out as a team, So that's where we also find healing, for ourselves. That's where we get the spirit to come back stronger, It's really motivating us, having people that goes to church to pray for us, Even if you are at home, you pray for us, So that's what keeps us being motivated and strong.
What's next for Langa for Men?
Many people felt the need for us to continue with the bonfire. We are hoping to do a camp. We want to involve all genders, queers as well, lesbians, gays, because they are also affected by the issues of gender-based violence. And we are going to chair the launch of Cape Metro District Boys Parliament. Last year, Sbu and other boys, they launched the National Boys Parliament in the University of Stellenbosch. Yes. So now the provincial one, we launched it online last year. Now we're going to launch the Cape Metro, and I'm going to share 2 members from Langa for Men actually are going to chair the commissioners for that Boys Parliament. This means that boys will also have sober spaces, and this will involve different organizations that are working at Cape Metro with young boys and men, so that boys can have interaction with men at a higher level and feel that their problems are also taken care of. We look at the issues that we need to tackle as Langa for Men. So ours is a different calendar.
Mr. Lengs and Sibu, I want to say thank you so much for coming in and sharing your story with us today. Through your work, you're showing us that breaking the cycle of gender-based violence doesn't start with institutions. It actually starts with people, with men willing to question what they're taught and to be brave enough to actually choose a different path. For listeners, this episode is a reminder that culture isn't static. It's shaped every day by the choices we make, the conversations we have, and the standards that we hold each other to, with people willing to question the norms that they inherited and to be brave enough to build something better. To learn more or to support their work, please visit langaformen.co.za.